And everything was going really well until about, 12, 13 years in, my husband at the time was diagnosed with cancer.
Hi everyone, Ellen Ballard is here today with my friend Tracie Root. Hello, Tracy.
Hi, Elle. So glad to be here.
Great to have you. I am excited, looking forward to this conversation. Of course, Tracy is a speaker, community builder, and experienced strategist who helps women entrepreneurs and leaders turn connection, into momentum. As the founder of the Gaza community, host of the Bold and Brilliant podcast, and creator of Bold and Brilliant Studio, she creates meaningful communities, transformational experiences, and creative tools that deepen connection and inspire forward movement. Known for her direct, encouraging approach, Tracy helps women gain clarity, build confidence, strengthen relationships, and take bold action toward what's next. I love it.
Thank you. Appreciate
Welcome.
it. Oh, I'm so glad to
Absolutely.
be here.
Yes, 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 yes. So tell us, I love to start where this journey started for you. The
Yeah.
whole, I know the Gaza community that you formed. And can you give us background how this whole, now bold movement started?
Yeah,
And
absolutely. Okay, so I live in Santa Cruz, California, and I grew up in Silicon Valley, so home of Apple Computer, south of San Francisco Bay Area. And as you can imagine, with a company like Apple being based there and many other companies, Hewlett Packard, Google, everything comes from that same area. So growing up in the 80s and even into the 90s, I was a high achiever. I believed that, my work ethic would get me everything I ever wanted. And as long as I worked hard and did the right things and got good grades and went to college and did all those things, that life would, be laid out in front of me. And so I did that. I graduated from school with honors. I joined the corporate world and I got to work for a consulting firm, which gave me opportunities to work for a lot of different companies. So over the years, I was there for 17 years with that same company. But since we were a consulting firm, I worked at lots of different places and got lots of different experiences from lots of leaders to learn what business, like working in the work world, was really like. And so I climbed the ladder, tapped a little bit on that glass ceiling, and everything was going really well until about 12, 13 years in, my husband at the time was diagnosed with cancer right after our first child was born. Paul hung on for 4 years. We had another child. He went through his treatments, got better, got worse, and ultimately passed in 2010. Our kids were 1.5 and 4 at the time. So after going through that grief period, I realized that I needed to figure out how I was going to be the parent that I dreamed our kids would always have, when it wasn't only going to be me. When there was going to be two of us, Paul was actually going to be the stay-at-home dad and I was the breadwinner. So now I had to figure out how the future could look different and give the kids the childhood and the growing up experience that I really wanted for them when I was the only one around. So I left the corporate world. I found coaching. And I started off as a health coach and worked through becoming health coach, business coach, like life coach, all kinds of different coaching. That path really led me to understanding where my strengths were, which was connecting with people, helping people manage change. Of course, in my corporate career, that was my job, but also having gone through serious life changes, managing grief, managing our own life
Yeah.
expectations. It really created kind of my base understanding of the human challenges of
Mhm.
managing our expectations and rising to overcome things that were hard in our lives. So that's how I got to where I am coaching wise now. What was the year? In like 2017 or so, I really wanted to start doing group programs. Been doing a lot of one-on-one coaching, of course, as a health coach and beyond. But wanting to do group programs, I really started with wanting to do a vision board workshop. That was the first one. Because who doesn't love a vision board workshop, right? Get
Yeah.
there, get to kind of be a collage artist and imagine your future at the same time. I was all about it. But I've had a real challenge finding a place to hold that event here in my town. And I said to myself, well, I can't find a lot of places to rent to host these events. And since my corporate background is in interior design and project management, I decided to rent a commercial space, create what I wanted, and open it for other people to be able to not only myself host workshops, but to have other people be able to rent that space, host their own events. That space came to life, and it was called Gather. Gather opened in October of 2019. And 5 months later, we all were told, you need to go home for a couple of weeks while we figure out this COVID thing.
Right.
So we did, right? I closed the doors and sanitized those door handles and went home. And my kids came home from school and we started lockdown. And within a couple of weeks, of course, we realized that we weren't going back in person anytime soon. And I didn't really know what I was going to do, but I'm a figure outer, right? Nothing's going to hold me back. And a lot of my friends, especially in the coaching world, were also kind of like, I'm not really sure how to navigate this period. And I said, well, why don't I open my Zoom room? Let's hang out together and we'll like start to figure it out together. That was our first, what I would consider a co-working session and mastermind session where we all kind of came on the same Zoom room. I hosted and held the space for everyone to come and get done whatever they needed to get done. And I also offered my knowledge of doing lots of online coaching and the technology side of things, and realized that if we weren't going to be going back in person anytime soon, this online gatherings really were needed. And so Gather, the room, became Gather, the community, the online community, instead of renting the room and giving those clients a space and the amenities and the support and the promotion that they needed to have a successful in-person event. I moved that to online and created a membership. That was summer of 2020. And by December, we had a full-fledged community of members, which we called creators at the time. We had our first summit that December. We hosted workshops for them on our platform. We did co-working. We started kind of personal networking. We'd have game nights, everything I could think of that would help the women that I knew navigate this season of real mystery and managing unmet expectations because of lockdown.
Yeah.
And now we're still here 6 years later. We still exist in Gather community. We're still doing summits and workshops and co-working and networking and game nights and all the things. Of course, over time, I've added to that because I can't kind of stay in one little box. I have a podcast now. I've been doing retreats for a couple of years. And I recently started something called this Bold and Brilliant Studio, which helps women entrepreneurs, offer their clients the custom gifting that is so special and helps the client remember the giver long after their time together. So really targeted towards retreat leaders, people who are doing, not so much, well, summits, yes, but like any kind of group programs where you want to gift memorabilia or tools to your clients. Those are the kinds of things that I make, basically swag, but at a quantity of one, right? Individualized for each person.
Wow, how beautiful.
That's where we are these days.
Yes.
And it's still a lot, but it's really uplifting to get to see the impact that the efforts, that old work ethic and that old desire to strive towards excellence that I had from childhood, it still shows up. And that shows up in new things and meeting new people and connecting everyone that I know so that everyone can have success.
Amazing. Yeah. Thank you for sharing your journey.
Yeah.
All this you are a figure outer. Yes, like you said. Yeah, it's great.
In the meantime, my kids who were 1.5 and 4 back at the beginning of the story, now they're 17 and 20, and one's going off to college and the other one is living life. And it's crazy, but I wouldn't change a thing. Everything that we go through is something to learn from.
Yes. And add kids to that. All this, the plates. That. Yes. Thank you for sharing that journey. so many, it's never a straight
Never a straight line. Yep.
line, right? It's just all this, the
Well,
road
and
is paved.
the reason
Uh-huh.
why I share so many details is, I think that there are a lot of people, especially if they're earlier in their entrepreneurial journey, who think that like in a job, you do the
Hmm.
job and then you get promoted and it's pretty linear, unless
Yeah.
you change companies, which obviously is a detour, or change your focus. Most people are kind of on a pretty straight line if they're in kind of the corporate world. And entrepreneurism isn't that ever,
Mm-mm.
right? It's just
No.
never true. And that's okay. And it's actually kind of part of the allure is to get
Yeah.
to experiment and be adventurous. Adventure is kind of my middle name. I really want to experience all kinds of new things at every opportunity. And I get to do that in my business as well, and not only in personal life.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's what I love also about the business
Mm-hmm.
building, that it's the best personal growth, right?
Absolutely.
A tool that, people can use. And even though, with all the challenges, celebrations. And on this podcast, it's actually a great moment to move into what we truly discuss here is what it truly means to succeed from the inside out.
Mm-hmm.
Discussing aligned leadership, conscious business,
Yes.
intentional living, and I wanted to. And I feel like you created that for yourself. You
Mm-hmm.
really choreographed success for yourself, because success means different things for each one of us.
Absolutely.
And you have built that for yourself. And so I want to ask you, when you hear the phrase choreographed success, what does that mean to you now? And how
Well,
is that different from maybe earlier in your life or career?
yeah. Well, I love about the phrase that you've adopted, choreographed success. It takes me to my younger days when I used to dance, right? And there's lots of modes of dance. There's ballet, tap, jazz, modern, hip hop, whatever. And I'm a fan of all of them. I'm good at some, I'm not so good at others. Some take a lot of training, and others are more kind of innate. And so when I think of the word choreograph, I think of the variety that it could be, right? There's so many options and so many ways for it to be great, regardless, and it's really based on your own talents and expertise and experience and what you care about. And I think that that also translates to success. If you focus on what you love and care about and are passionate about and want to make an impact with, then as an entrepreneur, you get to do that. Dancers get to do whatever choreography fits them and their soul and their spirit. And entrepreneurs get to do whatever fits them and their soul and their spirit in their business. And
I
that's
love that.
definitely an evolution that I've gone through. And especially these recent days in creating the studio, starting the podcast a couple of years ago, starting retreats a couple of years ago, those are all relatively new. I coached for 10 years before I ever thought about doing other things.
Yeah.
And that's just, the evolution of, wow, this was kind of the path that I was on, that more linear path. I feel like it's time to, try a new style of dance, a new style of business, a new style of communication, whatever it is that we're bringing to our business world.
Yeah, I love that analogy. Yeah, exactly. Speaking my language. I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, because we have a
Mm-hmm.
similar background. Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing, and congratulations again on all the thing that you added to your business, as well as the studio now and
Yeah.
the podcast, and the whole gather community that I am part of as well. And I'm looking
Yes.
forward to attending the event soon that you have. For those who are interested, they're listening to us right now, they're interested in checking out more. How can they find it online?
Well, the easiest way to find everything is to go to what I call my links page, which is tracieroot.com/links.
Perfect.
It's the easiest way because it does have like my kind of coaching Tracie Root kind of things happening. It has the podcast, it has the gather community things. And of course, as I mentioned, I'm in this kind of place of a new evolution again. And so, you might find links that are like, this was in May and it's not updated. Well, that's because I'm maybe moving in a new direction because I'm dancing in a new direction. But it's still going to be the most easiest place to kind of go to one place. Obviously, I'm on social media. I have community. We have the Gather community is a group on Facebook. You can find that. It's the Gather community with Tracie Root. That link is, of course, also on the links page, and you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. I want to move us into the rapid fire questions now. The first question is morning ritual or practice that you kind of do every single day in you, or maybe not every single, but
Okay.
anything you want to share with us?
So I don't have anything earth shattering or like transformational, but what I will say is my first priority in the morning is sleeping. I love to sleep.
Mhm.
Now that my kid is out of high school, I don't have well, I do set an alarm, but it's not early. I
Yes.
usually try to be up by 8. And I know there's a
Yeah.
lot of people who are like, ooh, 5 a.m. club. And I saw something the other day that's like 4:30 is the new, or 4:30, and someone else said 3:30. I'm like, that is so
Stream.
literally yesterday. Are you crazy? So I am a sleeper. I need like a good solid 8 to 9 hours of sleep every night. My mom was the same way. And so I really try to make sure that I get a really full night's sleep before I start. And all I do in the morning to get myself going is I get up, I go grab a cup of coffee. I kind of check in on if there's been any earth shattering news, just to make sure I'm aware of what's happening on the planet, because there's a lot. But I'm not like sinking into like major news like rabbit hole. I just am checking to make sure I didn't miss anything overnight. And then I come to my desk and go through my email, like very calmly go through my email, check out my calendar for the day. Nothing usually will start for me until 9 a.m. or even 10 a.m. I am not an early scheduler. If someone schedules something at 8 o'clock Pacific or even 9 o'clock Pacific, I'm iffy on whether or not I will commit to going. It's just not my happy time to be engaging and ready. But come 10 a.m., I'm on Zoom all the time and I'm ready to go, and I'm high energy all the way into the evening. So mornings are pretty slow and definitely kind of whatever I want them to be in the morning without feeling the pressure of having to do anything. And I feel like that's the benefit of being my own boss for all these years. I have finally gotten to, reap the benefits of that in my
Yeah.
schedule.
Yeah, I love that. I love the reminder on sleep because and 5 a.m. Yeah, I just so relate. Yeah, I know some people do it, but
Well, and
I
it
can I
works for a
just
lot of
don't. It
people.
works. Yeah, but it also reminds me that idea of the choreographed success, what works for us individually is so
Yes.
important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that reminder because I think you don't hear that often. But
Yeah.
sleep is so important, and I think if we do get our version of what works for our internal clock, then we are just
Yeah.
so much more productive, right?
I
So
mean,
I love that.
I tried that 5 a.m. club. I
Yeah,
tried doing like a daily 7 a.m., motivation call and that kind of stuff early on
yeah,
in my coaching career.
hmm,
And because the groups that I was in, that was kind of what they did. And I'm, of course, on Pacific time. So if they were scheduling something at 8 or 9 o'clock for them, it was very early for me if they were elsewhere in the country. Um, and I would try. And it just literally,
yeah,
I was never happy about it. I was doing
hmm,
it because I thought that it would change me. And ultimately, whoever I am is already perfect. So it
yeah,
doesn't.
yeah, exactly. Awesome. So, place in the world that shaped you.
A place in the world, like a physical place.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, well, I mean, growing up in Silicon Valley was a really big deal. I think that we were definitely surrounded by high expectations and a lot of success. So it was
Hmm.
easy to be like, okay, I'm smart. I know I can do anything, and here's all this evidence to the positive of that. So that would be one thing, but that's not very exciting. I think the other thing that really kind of finally uh, kind of clicked in my kind of adventure mode is early in my coaching career when I would go to conferences and things like that. The first one that I really went to was um, an event in Washington D.C.
Hmm.
at the Gaylord Hotel, And I'd never been in such a big hotel,
Mm,
fancy conference
nice.
environment. That wasn't what
Hmm.
my corporate job was like. It was very like I'm just there doing my job and we're in their offices. I never traveled for work in that way, never went to
Hmm.
conferences before. So my first conference in connecting with other entrepreneurs in this beautiful environment across the country from me, like that was a really impactful kind of first trip and first opportunity to see how coaching could take me elsewhere and really
Hmm.
fuel my like my wanderlust a little bit, my adventure gene a little bit, but also like looking at why is it that I'm enjoying this. There's multiple reasons. One is the group that I'm with, one is the environment that I'm in, one is being in a new kind of city and vibe and seeing new things. I'm an architecture nerd, so like going and seeing the new buildings in a city I've never
Oh
been to.
yeah, I love
These
architecture, yeah,
and
as
that's
well.
why
Hmm.
I love travel so much. I'm excited to visit any new city or town, and so that was kind of probably one of the first ones that really kicked that off. That makes me
That's
so
cool.
happy today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really cool. One word that describes the woman you are becoming.
Bold. So I chose the word bold as kind of a focused word many years ago, actually at a retreat. Katerina Rando, if anyone's listening who knows her, she's been my coach for, gosh, 7 years now. And we were asked at the end of this retreat together, what's one word to describe how we're going to be different when we leave? We've
Hmm.
been together for a week. And we were given a sticker and a Sharpie, and I wrote the word bold, like taking up the entire space of the
Yeah.
sticker in all capital letters, and I stuck it to my chest. And everyone is like, "What do you mean you're going to be bold? Like, look at you." And if you don't know me, I am 6 feet tall. At the time, my hair was purple, not curly purple, but straight purple. I was a bold figure. People like you couldn't help but see me walk into a room, 6 feet tall, purple hair. And I said, I might look bold, and as a performer, I can certainly act however I desire, and bold can be one of them. But I really needed to make a shift inside that allowed me to make the decisions that were for
Mm,
me. And I felt
yeah.
that that was a really bold move. And so I refer to bold action, bold decisions, bold anything now for myself, for my clients, for our community, because I feel like if you can make a bold decision or take a bold action, then you are not in your own way. You
Mm,
are believing in your decision to do whatever it is that you're doing or to be whoever it is that you're being. And I think that can only serve us positively in any way, any part of our life.
beautiful.
And that's not to say that I'm always that way, but that's the goal,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
We're not
Yeah.
perfect, and when I say, oh, what describes me bold? Well, I often am bold, and sometimes I need a break. And
Yes.
sometimes, I need a reminder. And so I love it when people ask me that question so I can remember that bold journey that I've been on.
Mm, yeah. Bold journey. Love that.
Mhm.
A music, movement, or stillness, or combination of those.
Well, music, movement, or stillness? I mean, probably, well, I mean, yes, the answer is yes, right? All of them at different times. Music and movement definitely go hand in hand for me. I've recently gotten into K-pop,
Cool.
and I'm obsessed with this K-pop band called Stray Kids. They are amazing dancers, and I'm so obsessed. If you haven't seen them as a dancer, you got to check them out. They're so incredible. Um, but so I have that music in my head pretty much 24/7 right now. It's just churning. And so I'm always kind of bebopping in my mind
Hmm.
and in my
Uh-huh.
body to that. But, you can't be activity 100% all the time. So stillness is really important to me. In fact, not long ago, I was volunteering for a group and we were doing a golf tournament. And so I was sitting at one of the golf holes waiting for people to come up and I had the cornhole hole. It was a charity golf tournament. So we had games. And I was sitting there in a chair waiting for the next people to come. And I was like, oh, this is a really lovely opportunity to kind of take in the scenery. I took off my shoes and put my feet on the well manicured grass. I didn't want to get dirty, but the grass felt lovely under my feet and the sun was shining. I got sunburnt a little bit, even, which is unusual these days. And it was just a beautiful way to kind of shift from my constant go, go, go and the momentary go, go, go of people coming up to the hole and then moving on. In between, I got to really have a little bit of rest and stillness. And so
Yeah,
that was lovely.
that's nice. Yeah, staying
Mhm.
grounded. Okay, and my final question is one non-negotiable for aligned success.
Well, I mean, gosh, there's so many. I think
Mm-hmm.
that, a mentor many, many years ago, early in my coaching career, I had some challenges. I was building a team in a network marketing company that I was in, and someone had left, and I was kind of shocked that they left, and I was really disappointed. What did I do? That kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And she reminded me, she's like, everything is a choice, and that's the choice
Mm,
that they made. So now you
yeah.
get to choose how you react, what you do next. Like all the choices that are in front of us are sometimes hard to see because of the emotions that we're feeling otherwise. So I
Mm,
think when we're talking about aligned success, when we can remember that everything we do is a choice. And so whatever you decide is where you're aligned, and
mm,
recognizing the choices that you make are your alignment. If they don't go well, then maybe you weren't really paying attention to yourself and doing what you thought was aligned, or maybe you were doing what you thought you should do instead. And
yeah,
it's a place for self perception and a little bit of analysis so that we can feel great about the choices that we're making.
that's great. Thank you for
Yeah.
playing.
Yeah.
Thank you for playing. Well, my final question as we close this is if there is one truth, one reminder, one invitation that you want women to hear listening to this, or anything that comes for you right now, so
Yeah.
that we can close with that, feel free to share.
Sometimes I might say that everything is a choice, but since we just covered that, I'll do a different one. Um, a few years back, I was in a workshop with someone, and she was suggesting to us to look at our dreams and the things that we wanted out of our lives and our
Ooh.
business. So I'm in this workshop, and she's talking to us about the things that we're dreaming about and asking us, like, what is a step that you can take toward that? And I had this big dream at the time to have an in-person retreat center. I had recently been to Mexico, and I saw a building on the hill, and I was like, that building stuck in my mind. Wow, that would be amazing to own a place like that here in this beautiful land and have retreats there. But when she asked the question, I immediately thought to myself, well, that's too much. Maybe I'll just start with a condo. And that's more reasonable and doable and financially possible. And that other thing was so big, maybe
Mm-hmm.
I'll just start small. And she reminded me that she didn't ask me what was realistic. She asked me what I was dreaming about. And the fact that I had immediately shrunk my dream
Yeah,
really stood out to her and to me. So
well
she helped
done.
me see that. And I realized that the reason I did that was because I didn't think that what I was doing would ever be worthy of that kind of success, to have a big place like that. So that day, I actually wrote, I have windows here to my right, and I wrote on my window frames, at the time in pencil, now it's in paint. It says, I am worthy of the dreams I dream. The world needs me to show up today. I usually say the world is waiting for me to show up today. And to remember the first part of that, especially, that I'm worthy of the dreams I dream. And so the answer is that everyone out there, you are worthy of the dreams you dream. It may not be something that you want to go after today, but you can still dream it, and it can still be yours when the time is right. And if you think that you can't have it, then, the trick is to show up in the world, because the bigger you show up, the bigger the possibilities. That's why we need to be bold. When we show up boldly, people will notice. We will grow in our influence, we grow in our impact, and that's the direction of our dreams. because those are also big dreams and impact. So don't forget
I
that you're
love
worthy of
that.
those dreams you dream. They're in you for a reason.
Thank you. I love that. I love that. Thank you for that.
Yeah, my
Such a
pleasure.
powerful reminder.
My pleasure. Of
Thank you for being here, my
course.
friend, Tracie Root.
I
Thank you,
know it's
thank you,
hard to
thank
wrap
you.
up because we just like want to keep talking to each other.
I know, I know. But yeah, thank you for taking the time to be here. I'll see you soon.
Okay. Talk to you soon, my friend.
Talk to you soon. Bye.